The auctioneer's gavel slammed like a gunshot, shattering the silence of the crowded hall. Elias Kane, bound and shivering, stood on the cold stage, his heart pounding as faceless bidders in tailored suits raised their paddles. He was the last fertile Omega in the Pacific Northwest, a rare prize in a world where Omegas were hunted, sold, and broken. The year was 2045, and America had fractured into territories ruled by ruthless alphas who hoarded power and Omegas alike. Elias, barely 20, had grown up hiding his true nature in the rugged outskirts of Seattle, raised by a father who taught him to fight, to survive, to never bow. But his father was gone now, murdered 6 months ago by Duke Victor Ashwood, the man whose shadow loomed over the Cascadia territory. And tonight, Elias was sold to him. The bidding climbed to obscene heights, voices blurring into a cacophony of greed. Elias's green eyes burned with defiance, but fear coiled in his gut. He'd heard the stories about Ashwood, cold, calculating, a man who crushed rebellion with a smile. When the gavel fell again, the auctioneer's voice boomed. Sold for $50 million to Duke Victor Ashwood. The room erupted in murmurs, but Elias's world went silent. His knees buckled as guards dragged him off stage, his chains clinking like a death knell. They took him to Ashwood Manor, a sprawling Gothic estate nestled in the misty forests of Washington. The drive was a blur of rain-slicked roads and towering pines, Elias's mind racing with memories of his father, his warm laugh, his calloused hands teaching him to wield a knife. "You're stronger than they'll ever know," his father had said. Now, Elias clung to those words as the car stopped before the manor's iron gates. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old wood and wax. Elias was shoved into a grand study, its walls lined with books and a fire crackling in the hearth. And there he was, Victor Ashwood. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp cheekbones and eyes like storm clouds. He stood by the window, his back to Elias. The Duke turned, and their gazes locked. Elias's breath caught. Victor's presence was overwhelming, a magnetic pull that made Elias's Omega instinct scream to submit. He hated it. "You're mine now," Victor said, his voice low, almost tender, but laced with something dangerous. He stepped closer, and Elias flinched, expecting cruelty. Instead, Victor's fingers brushed his cheek, gentle yet possessive. "You don't remember me, do you?" he murmured. Elias's heart stuttered. "I'd remember the man who killed my father," he spat, his voice trembling but fierce. Victor's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "You think you know the truth. You don't." Before Elias could retort, a servant interrupted, announcing dinner. Victor gestured for Elias to follow, and though every instinct screamed to run, the chains and the armed guards left no choice. The dining hall was opulent, with chandeliers casting golden light over a table laden with food Elias hadn't seen in years: roast pheasant, fresh bread, wine that gleamed like rubies. He sat across from Victor, his wrists still bound, feeling like a caged animal. "Why am I here?" Elias demanded, his voice cutting through the clink of silverware. "To be your trophy. Your pet." Victor leaned back, studying him. "You're here because you're the last of your kind. And because I need you." Elias laughed bitterly. "Need me? You murdered my father. You destroyed my life." Victor's eyes darkened, but he didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "Eat. You'll need your strength." The meal was a tense dance of silence and stolen glances. Elias hated how his body responded to Victor's presence. The Omega in him drawn to the alphas sent sandalwood and storm. He pushed the feeling down, focusing on the weight of his father's memory. But Victor's words lingered. "You don't know the truth." What did that mean? That night, Elias was taken to a lavish room, not a cell. The bed was soft, the windows barred but draped with silk. He lay awake, plotting escape, when a soft knock broke the silence. Victor entered, holding a small, worn book. "This was your father's," he said, placing it on the bedside table. Elias recognized it instantly, a journal his father kept, filled with sketches and notes. His throat tightened. "Why do you have this?" Elias whispered, clutching the book. Victor's jaw tightened. "Because he trusted me once. Before everything went wrong." Elias wanted to scream, to demand answers. But Victor was already gone, leaving only questions and the faint warmth of his touch on the book's cover. As Elias opened it, his father's familiar handwriting stared back, and a single line stood out: "Victor was never the enemy." Confusion crashed over him. Was Victor lying, manipulating him? Or had his father's death been something else entirely? Elias's fingers traced the words, his heart torn between rage and a dangerous, unwanted spark of hope. The next morning, Elias was summoned to the manor's garden, a maze of roses and ivy under a gray sky. Victor waited there, his coat billowing in the wind. "Walk with me," he said, not a request. Elias followed, wary but curious, the journal's words burning in his mind. They stopped by a pond, its surface rippling with rain. Victor's voice was low, almost vulnerable. "Your father and I were allies once, fighting the same corruption in this territory. He was betrayed not by me, but by someone we both trusted." Elias's fists clenched. "Then why didn't you save him?" Victor's gaze met his, raw and unguarded. "I tried. And I failed." The words hung between them, heavy with regret. Elias wanted to hate him, to cling to the certainty of Victor's guilt. But doubt crept in. The way Victor looked at him, intense, protective, almost desperate, stirred something deep inside. It wasn't just the Omega Alpha bond. It was something human, something real. As they stood there, the rain began to fall harder, soaking Elias's clothes. Victor stepped closer, shielding him with his coat. Their faces were inches apart, and Elias's pulse raced. "Why do you care?" he whispered, voice breaking. Victor's hand cupped his face, thumb brushing away a raindrop. "Because you're not just an Omega to me, Elias. You never were." The moment stretched, electric and impossible. Elias pulled away, heart pounding, torn between the man he was supposed to hate and the one standing before him, offering truths he wasn't ready to face. The days at Ashwood Manor blurred into a tense rhythm of revelations and restraint. Elias woke each morning to the clank of his chains being removed, replaced by Victor's quiet insistence that he eat, train, and learn the truth. The Duke's words about his father gnawed at him, but trust was a luxury Elias couldn't afford. Not yet. Victor began training Elias in the manor's gymnasium, a cavernous room with mirrored walls and weapons lining the racks. "You're not helpless," Victor said, tossing him a wooden sparring staff. "Your father taught you to fight. Show me." Elias gripped the staff, his muscles tensing. He lunged, fueled by anger, but Victor parried effortlessly, his movements fluid and precise. They sparred until Elias's lungs burned, sweat dripping down his brow. Victor never mocked him, only corrected his form with a patience that felt infuriatingly genuine. "You're holding back," Victor said, catching Elias's wrist mid-strike. "Don't." "I'm not your soldier," Elias snapped, yanking free. But Victor's touch lingered, warm and steady, and Elias hated how it made his Omega instincts hum. Between training sessions, Victor shared fragments of the past. He spoke of a resistance movement his father had led alongside Elias's father, Michael Caine, to dismantle the alpha councils that profited off Omega trafficking. Michael was the heart of it, Victor said one evening, his voice soft as they sat by the fire. He believed Omegas deserved freedom, not chains. Elias clutched his father's journal, its pages now dog-eared from late-night reading. The entries confirmed Victor's story sketches of safe houses, coded messages, names of allies. But one name appeared repeatedly, Cassandra Holt, a beta who had been Michael's confidant. Victor's tone darkened when Elias mentioned her. She turned on us, he said. She's the one who sold your father out. Elias's stomach twisted. Cassandra had visited their home years ago, a sharp-eyed woman with a kind smile. Could she have betrayed them? He wanted to believe Victor, but doubt lingered like a shadow. The manor wasn't just a prison. It was a fortress preparing for war. Elias overheard guards discussing shipments of weapons, whispers of an uprising against the Alpha Councils. Victor was no saint. His hands were stained with blood, but he was fighting for something bigger. Elias caught glimpses of it in the way Victor spoke to his men, his voice steady but urgent, or how he studied maps late into the night. One afternoon, in the library, Elias found a hidden letter tucked inside his father's journal. It was addressed to him, written in Michael's hurried scrawl, Elias, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Trust Victor. He's not what he seems. Find Cassandra. She holds the key. The words hit like a punch. His father had trusted Victor. But why? And why seek Cassandra, the traitor? That night, Elias confronted Victor in the study. Why didn't you tell me about this? He demanded, thrusting the letter forward. Victor's face tightened. Because you weren't ready to hear it. Cassandra's dangerous. Elias. She's working with the councils now, profiting off the auctions. Then why did my father want me to find her? Elias's voice cracked, torn between grief and fury. Victor stepped closer, his scent enveloping Elias, calming and maddening all at once. Because she knows something your father died to protect. A list of every council member involved in the Omega trade. If we find it, we can end this. Elias's breath hitched. The idea of justice, of finishing his father's work, sparked something fierce in him. But so did Victor's closeness. The Duke's hand rested on his shoulder, steady and warm, and Elias didn't pull away. I'm not your pawn, he said, voice low. If I do this, it's for my father. Victor's eyes softened. I know. The moment lingered, charged with unspoken promises. Elias's Omega instincts screamed to lean into Victor, to let the Alpha's strength anchor him. But he stepped back, clutching the letter, his heart a battlefield of trust and betrayal. The next day, Victor announced a mission. They would infiltrate a council gala in Portland, where Cassandra was rumored to appear. Elias would go, not as a prisoner, but as Victor's partner disguised as his Omega consort. The idea made Elias's skin crawl, but the chance to find Cassandra, to uncover the truth, was worth it. They prepared in secret, Victor teaching Elias the art of deception, how to move, speak, and charm like an Omega trained to please. Elias hated it, but he played the part, memorizing every detail of the plan. The night before the gala, Victor gave him a dagger, its hilt engraved with a wolf. For protection, he said, his voice rough. I won't let anything happen to you. Elias met his gaze, searching for lies. He found none, only a raw intensity that made his pulse race. Why do you care so much? He asked again, softer this time. Victor hesitated, then said, because Banshee, because you're the only one who can save me from myself. The words hung in the air, heavy and unguarded. Elias wanted to press, to unravel the mystery of Victor's heart. But the moment passed. They had a mission to prepare for, and the weight of it silenced them both. The night of the gala arrived, cloaked in a Portland fog that clung to the city like a ghost. Elias stood in front of a gilded mirror in Ashwood Manor, adjusting the tailored black suit Victor had chosen for him. It hugged his frame perfectly, accentuating his lean build. But the role he was about to play, Victor's Omega consort, made his stomach churn. He wasn't just pretending to be submissive. He was stepping into a world that wanted to own him. Victor entered, his presence commanding the room. He wore a charcoal suit that made his gray eyes look like molten steel. "You look good," he said, his voice low, almost reverent. Elias's cheeks warmed, and he hated himself for it. "Don't get used to it," Elias muttered, tucking the dagger Victor had given him into his waistband. "This is just for tonight." Victor's lips quirked, but his eyes held a storm of emotions: pride, worry, something deeper. "Stay close to me," he said. "The council members are vipers. They'll smell weakness." Elias nodded, his throat tight. He wasn't weak, but the weight of his father's letter and the looming confrontation with Cassandra pressed against his chest. As they drove into the city, Victor briefed him on the gala's layout: a grand ballroom, hidden passages, and a private office where Cassandra might be. "We get in, find her, get the list, and get out," Victor said, his hand brushing Elias's knee. The touch was fleeting, but it sent a jolt through him. The gala was a glittering cage of wealth and power. Alphas in tuxedos and their Omega scholared, silent mingled under chandeliers that dripped with crystals. Elias played his part, keeping his head slightly bowed, his arm linked with Victor's. The Duke's hand rested possessively on his lower back, and though it was for show, it felt too real. "There," Victor whispered, nodding toward a woman in a crimson gown, her dark hair swept up in an elegant bun. "Cassandra Holt." She moved through the crowd with a predator's grace, her smile sharp enough to cut. Elias's pulse quickened. This was the woman who'd betrayed his father. They followed her, weaving through the crowd, until she slipped into a side corridor. Victor signaled for Elias to stay close, and they trailed her to a locked office. Victor picked the lock with a skill that shouldn't have surprised Elias, but did. Inside, Cassandra was rifling through a safe, her back to them, looking for something. Victor's voice was ice. Cassandra spun, her eyes narrowing. "Ashwood." "And Elias." Her shock morphed into a cold smile. "You've grown up." Elias's hands shook with rage. "You sold out my father." "Why?" Cassandra's laugh was brittle. "Michael was naive. He thought he could change the world. The councils offered me power, and I took it." Victor stepped forward, his presence menacing. "Where's the list?" Cassandra's eyes flicked to Elias, then back to Victor. "You think I'd keep it here? It's long gone, sold to the highest bidder." Elias's heart sank, but Victor didn't flinch. "You're lying," he said, advancing. "Give it to me, or I'll take it." The air crackled with tension. Cassandra reached for a hidden panel, but Elias was faster, tackling her to the ground. The dagger flashed in his hand, pressed to her throat. "Tell me why you did it," he growled, his voice breaking. "He trusted you." Cassandra's eyes softened, just for a moment. "I loved him, Elias. But love doesn't survive in this world." Her words hit like a blade, but before Elias could respond, alarms blared. Guards were coming. Victor yanked him up, grabbing a flash drive from the safe. "We're leaving. Now." They ran, the gala erupting into chaos behind them. Victor's hand gripped Elias's, pulling him through a maze of corridors until they reached a service exit. Outside, the fog swallowed them, and they dove into Victor's waiting car. As it sped away, Elias's chest heaved, Cassandra's words echoing in his mind. I loved him. Back at the manor, they pored over the flash drive's contents. It was the list: names, dates, transactions, proof of the council's crimes. Elias's hands trembled as he read, the weight of his father's mission settling on him. Victor stood behind him, close enough to feel his warmth. You did well tonight, he said softly. Elias turned, their faces inches apart. She said she loved him. How could she betray him? Victor's jaw tightened. People break under pressure. Your father didn't. Neither will you. The words stirred something in Elias. A flicker of pride, of connection. He wanted to hate Victor, to keep him at arm's length. But the pull between them was undeniable. Victor's hand rested on his shoulder, steadying him, and for a moment, Elias let himself lean into it. We're not done, Victor said, breaking the spell. The councils will come for us now. Elias nodded, resolve hardening. Then we fight. The manor became a war room in the days that followed. Victor's men moved with purpose, fortifying defenses and spreading the list to trusted allies in the resistance. Elias trained harder, his body aching but his spirit unbroken. Every glance at Victor sparked a dangerous warmth, one he fought to suppress. The Duke was an enigma, ruthless yet tender, a murderer with a heart. Elias couldn't reconcile it, but he couldn't walk away either. One night, as rain lashed the manor's windows, Victor found him in the library, poring over his father's journal. You should rest, Victor said, sitting beside him. His knee brushed Elias's, sending a shiver through him. I can't, Elias said, his voice raw. This list, it's bigger than us. My father died for it. Victor's hand covered his, steady and warm. He died for you, too. To keep you free. Elias's throat tightened. Did you love him? The question slipped out, unguarded. Victor's eyes darkened. I admired him. I wanted to save him. But I failed you both. The confession cracked something in Elias. He leaned forward, their foreheads touching, the air thick with unspoken need. I don't know if I can trust you, he whispered. Then let me earn it, Victor murmured, his lips brushing Elias's. The kiss was fire desperate, consuming, a collision of fear and longing. Elias pulled back, gasping, his omega instincts screaming to surrender. But he wasn't ready. Not yet. The council struck at dawn. A convoy of armored trucks breached the gates, gunfire shattering the morning. Victor dragged Elias to a hidden bunker, their hands clasped as they ran. Stay here, Victor ordered, loading a rifle. I'm not hiding, Elias snapped, grabbing a gun of his own. This is my fight, too. Victor's eyes blazed with pride. Then stay alive. The battle was chaos smoke, screams, the roar of bullets. Elias fought with a ferocity he didn't know he had, taking down council soldiers with moves his father had taught him. Victor was a force of nature, cutting through enemies with lethal precision, but always keeping Elias in his sights. Cassandra appeared in the fray, her crimson gown replaced by tactical gear. She aimed at Victor, but Elias tackled her, pinning her to the ground. Where's the rest of the list? He demanded, his dagger at her throat again. It's gone, she spat. You'll never win. Victor hauled her up, binding her wrists. We already have, he said, holding up the flash drive. Your buyers are exposed. Cassandra's face crumpled, and Elias saw a flicker of regret. Tell me one thing, he said, his voice shaking. Did you ever love him? Her eyes met his, raw and unguarded. More than you'll ever know. Elias let her go, his heart heavy. Victor's hand found his, grounding him as the battle died down. The manor was scarred but standing, the council's forces in retreat. They'd won for now. In the aftermath, Elias and Victor stood in the garden, the rain having cleared to reveal a starlit sky. The list had been sent to every resistance cell in the country, igniting a spark of revolution. Elias clutched his father's journal, feeling his presence in every word. You were right, Elias said, turning to Victor. He died for something bigger. Victor's hand cupped his face, gentle but firm. And you'll live for it. This time, Elias didn't pull away. Their kiss was softer, a promise of healing, of hope. The road ahead was uncertain, more battles, more betrayals, but for the first time, Elias felt whole. He wasn't just the last fertile Omega. He was Elias Kane, son of a hero, lover of a duke, and a warrior in his own right. As they stood together, the stars above seemed to whisper, "You're free."